Let us pray. Almighty God, in your wisdom and goodness, have appointed the offices of leaders and legislative assemblies for the welfare of society and the just government of the people. We beseech you to behold with your abundant favor as your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of important trusts in this republic. And let your blessings descend upon us here assembled, and grant that we treat and consider all matters that shall come under deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests you have committed to our church. Amen. A very good morning, honorable members. Mr. Clerk, proceed.
Order number 1, administration of oath.
Proceed.
Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Honorable members, under this order number, we have a communication from the chair. First of all, his welcome remarks. I welcome you all back from the break, in which you undertook a number of trainings and also undertook other activities besides interacting with the electorate during the period of the short recess, which would be necessitated by the planned CASA Games. So, welcome back. Number 2 on the communication is discharge of honorable members from committees. Honorable members, Standing Order number 156 provides for discharge of a member from a committee. Standing Order number 156 about the 1 states that the Assembly Party that nominated a member to a select committee may give notice in writing to the Speaker that the member is to be discharged from a select committee. Further, Standing Order number 156 about 2 states that the discharge of a member shall take effect upon receipt by the Speaker of a notice under paragraph 1. Honorable members, pursuant to this provision of the Standing Orders, I have received a letter from the Majority Party Leader, Honorable Mark Mwendo, dated the 30th of September 2021, discharging the listed honorable members from the following committees. 1. Honorable Joseph Musau from the Public Accounts and Investment Committee. 2. Honorable Cosmas Masesi from the Health and Emergency Services Committee. 3. Honorable Cosmas Kieti from the Trade, Economic Planning and Industrialization Committee. And 4. Honorable Jen Nyawira from the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee. Honorable members, Standing Order number 153 sub 3 requires that a vacancy occasioned by resignation or removal of a member from a select committee shall be filled within 14 days of the vacancy. I therefore direct the Committee on Selection to note the provisions of the Standing Orders and table replacements within the stipulated time. Thank you, honorable members. Mr. Clerk, proceed.
Order number 3, messages.
Proceed.
Order number 4, petitions.
Proceed.
Order number 5, papers.
Honorable members, under this order number, we have 3 business. The first paper is to be laid by the Honorable Stephen Mwandi, Chairperson, Finance and Revenue Committee. I don't know who is laying the paper on his behalf. Honorable Masesi, Honorable Cosmas Masesi. The second one will be laid by Honorable Cosmas Masesi for Emergency Services Committee. And the third one is to be laid by Honorable Patrick Kituku, the Chairperson of Delegated County Legislation Committee. So I would wish Honorable Cosmas Masesi to lay the first one on the finance bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Honorable Cosmas Masesi, member Matungulu East Road. Mr. Speaker, I would like to brief on behalf of our chair, Honorable Stephen Mwandi, in the Committee of Finance and Revenue Collection. Honorable Speaker, I wish to lay the following paper on the table of the Assembly today, Tuesday, 12 October 2021, the report of the Finance and Revenue Collection Committee on the financial statements of the County Assembly of Machakos for the financial year ended 30th June 2020. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Cosmas Masesi. Do we have a member of the Health Committee? Do you have any other member of the Health Committee here, apart from Honorable Moffat Maida? You are a member of the Health Committee? Health Committee. Honorable Patrick Ketuku, can you lay the second paper, please? The one for Health and Emergency Services Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am Honorable Patrick Kituko, member of the Health Committee. And I would like to lay the following paper. Honorable Speaker, I wish to lay the following paper on the table of the Assembly today, Tuesday, 12th October 2021. The report of Committee on Health and Emergency Services on the budget implementation for the Department of Health and Emergency Services for the year 2019-2020. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. And Honorable Kituku, you still have the next paper to lay. Maybe just go ahead and lay the third paper for the delegated legislation.
Thank you once again, Honorable Chair. I am Honorable Patrick Kituko, the Chairperson, Delegated County Legislation Committee. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the Assembly today, Tuesday, the 12th day of October 2021. Delegated County Legislation Committee report on consideration of the Public Finance Management. That is Machakos County Climate Change Fund Administration, Regulations 2021. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Patrick. Mr. Clerk, proceed.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Honorable members, under this order number, again, we have 3 notices of motion. The first one by Honorable Cosmas Masesi, on behalf of the Chair, Honorable Stephen Mwandi. The second one will be laid by Honorable Patrick Kituku, and the third one also by Honorable Patrick Kituku. The third notice of motion, the second notice of motion, and the third one will be laid by Honorable Patrick Kituku. Go ahead. Honorable Cosmas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, I'm Honorable Cosmas Masesi. Moving on notice of motion on behalf of our Chair, Stephen Mwandi. Honorable Speaker, that aware that the County Assembly submitted a report of the financial statements for the Assembly in respect to the financial year 2019-2020 on 31st August 2020 pursuant to Section 166 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012. Aware that the committee interrogated the statement as by its mandate, which includes all matters relating to the management of the county public finance and revenue collection, and compiled a report. Honorable Speaker, I wish to give notice of motion that this Honorable House discusses and approves the report of the Finance and Revenue Collection Committee on the financial statements of the County Assembly of Machakos for the financial year ended 30th June 2020, which is financial year 2019-2020, Mr. Speaker, as tabled by the Finance and Revenue Collection Committee. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Cosmas Masesi.
I wish to call upon...
Okay. No, this is just a notice. It's okay. Honorable Patrick Ketuko.
Honorable Speaker, I'm Honorable Patrick Etuko, standing in for the Chairperson and the Emergency Services Committee. Honorable Speaker, that are aware that the fourth schedule of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 mandates county governments to deal with all matters related to county health services and including, in particular, county health facilities and pharmacies, ambulances, services, promotion of primary health care, licensing and control of undertakings that sell food to the public, cemeteries, funeral parlors, and crematoria and refuse removal, refuse dumps and solid waste disposal, fighting services and disaster management. Aware that Article 183 3 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 provides that the County Executive Committee shall provide the County Assembly with full and regular reports on matters relating to the county. Informed that in exercise of the functions vested on County Assembly in Article 185, Subdivision 3 of the same Constitution, the County Assembly, through the Committee of Health and Emergency Services, requested for the Department of Performance Report for the Department of Health and Emergency Services for the fiscal year 2019-2020, cognizant that pursuant to Standing Order number 190, Suborder 5, the committee analyzed the report, conducted site visits, and consequently compiled a report. Honorable Speaker, I wish to give a notice of motion that this Honorable House discusses and approves the report of health on the report of Committee on Health and Emergency Services on the budget implementation for the Department of Health and Emergency Services for the financial year 2019-2020. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Patrick Etugo. You may go ahead and do the next notice of motion on.
Once again, Honorable Speaker, I'm the Chairperson, Delegated and County Legislation, and Honorable Speaker, I wish to give a notice of motion that aware that Article 94(5) of the Constitution provides that no person or body other than Parliament has the power to make provision having the force of law in Kenya except under authority conferred by this Constitution or by legislation. Further, aware that Article 95(6) of Constitution provides that an act of Parliament or legislation of a county that confers on any state organ, state officer, or person the authority to make provision having the force of law in Kenya, as contemplated in Clause 5, shall expressly specify the purpose and objectives for which that authority is conferred, the limits of the authority, the nature and the scope of the law that may be made, and the principles and standards applicable to the law made under the authority. Acknowledging that the Public Finance Management, that is Machakos County Climate Change Fund Administration Regulations 2021, were published in the Kenya Gazette, provide legal notice number 18 of 2012, submitted to the Clerk of the Assembly on 22nd July 2021, and subsequently laid in the House on 28th July 2021. Cognizant that the regulations seek to provide for the procedure, management, operation, and winding up of the Machakos County Climate Change Fund and for planning of climate change response interventions that are funded under the fund. I wish to give notice of motion that this Honorable House discusses and approves the committee report on delegated county legislation on consideration of the public finance management, that is Machakos County Climate Change Fund Administration Regulations 2021. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Patrick Ketuko. Mr. Clerk, proceed.
Order number 7, statements.
Honorable members, under this order number, we have a statement on House Business Committee to be read by the Leader of Majority, Honorable Mark Mwendo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The following the statement on business of House. Honorable Speaker, the House Business Committee met on Tuesday, 12th October 2021, to prioritize business for the House pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order number 151, Sabbatical 5. The committee balloted business as follows. 1, Tuesday morning, 12th October 2021, 10 a.m. in the morning, report of Finance and the Revenue Collection Committee on the financial statements of the County Assembly financial year for financial year 2019-2020 by Honorable Stephen Mwandi, Chairperson, Finance and the Revenue Collection Committee. On Tuesday afternoon, 12th October 2021 at 2:30 p.m., report of Delegated Regulation Committee on the Machakos County Climate Change Regulations 2021 by Honorable Patrick Ketuko, Chairperson. On Wednesday morning, 13th October 2021 at 10 a.m., report of PIC on Assembly Housing Scheme Fund, report of PAIC on Assembly Housing Scheme Fund 2018 by Honorable Joseph Musau. Wednesday afternoon, 13th October 2021 at 2:30. Report of Health and Emergency Services Committee on Budget Implementation. Report of the Department of Health and Emergency Services for the financial year 2019-2020 by Honorable Chairperson Cosmas Masesi. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, proceed.
Order number 8, motion, approval of report on the financial statements of the County Assembly of Machakos for the financial year ended 30th June 2020.
Honorable members, under this order number, we have on business on the motion to be dispensed by Honorable Cosmas Masesi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once more, Honorable Cosmas Masesi, Matungulu Stored member to this County Assembly. Honorable Speaker, the report is on approval of the report of the financial statements of the County Assembly of Machakos for the financial year ended 30th June 2020. Honorable Speaker, that aware that the County Assembly submitted a report of the financial statements for the Assembly in the respect the financial year 2019-2020 on 31st August 2020 pursuant to Section 166 of the Financial Management Act, PFM Act 2012. Aware that the committee interrogated the statement as per its mandate, which includes all matters relating to the management of the county finance, county public finance and revenue collection, and compiled a report. Honorable Speaker, I wish to move the motion that this Honorable House discusses and approves the report of the Finance and Revenue Collection Committee on the financial statements of the County Assembly of Machakos for the financial year ended 30th June 2020, which is 2019-2020, Mr. Speaker, as tabled by the Finance and Revenue Collection Committee. I wish to call upon Honorable Brian Kisila to second the motion.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. My name is Honorable Brian Kisila, member of the County Assembly representing great people of Mwala, and a member of the Finance Committee. I second.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kisila. Honorable Cosmas Masesi, when I look at the report which has been prepared there, I see we have an executive summary. Could I be guided on, there seems to be an executive summary, and then there seems to be the whole report. What was the purpose of the executive summary?
Mr. Speaker, just for the purposes of reminding ourselves on what really conspired through the report, without it twice, Mr. Speaker, I could just read the members of the committee, and then I go through the summary of the report.
Okay, go ahead. Just read the, I think I will just say you do the introduction, and then the committee membership, and then you go straight to the executive summary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The report on the Finance and Revenue Collection Committee on financial statement of the County Assembly of Machakos for the year ended 30th June 2020, which is fiscal year 2019-2020. Preface, Mr. Speaker. Section 166 of the Public Finance Management Act, PFM, requires that every accounting officer of a county government identity to prepare a report for each quarter of the financial year in respect of the entity and submit the report to county treasury not later than 15 days of the end of the quarter. The county treasury shall consolidate the quarterly reports and submit them to the county assembly not later than a month after the end of the quarter. 1.2 Submission of the financial statement, Mr. Speaker. The clerk of the county assembly submitted a report of the financial statements of the county assembly for the financial year 2019-2020 as per section 166 of PFM Act on 31st August 2020, Mr. Speaker. Mandate of the committee. Mr. Speaker, the Finance and Revenue Collection Committee is established pursuant to Standing Order number 190 of the County Assembly of Machakos, Standing Order number 195, defines the functions of a sectoral committee to include, among others, to investigate, inquire into, and report on all matters relating to the mandate, management, activities, administration, operations, and estimates of the assigned department. In addition, Mr. Speaker, the second schedule of the County Assembly Standing Orders defines the mandate of the Finance and Revenue Collection Committee to include all matters relating to the management of county public finance and revenue collection. Mr. Speaker, committee membership. The Finance and Revenue Collection Committee is currently constituted, comprises of the following honorable members: Honorable Stephen Mwandi, chairperson; Honorable Josephat Kasioki, vice chairperson; Honorable Betty, member; Honorable Brian Kisila, member; Honorable Caleb Mole, member; Honorable Frederick Mudhoka, member; Honorable Justice Kitengu, member; Honorable Judas Dawa, member; Honorable Moffat Maida, member; Honorable Phoebe Koki, member; Honorable Grace Mutua, member; Honorable Cosmas Masesi, member; lastly, Mr. Speaker, Honorable Ellen Deti, member. Mr. Speaker, kindly allow me to go through the executive summary of the report.
Go ahead.
Mr. Honorable Speaker, the clerk of the County Assembly submitted a report of the financial statement for the Assembly in respect to the financial year 2019-2020 on the 1st August this year 2020, pursuant to Section 166 of the Finance Management Act 2012. The committee interrogated the statement as per its mandate, which includes all matters relating to the management of the county public finance and revenue collection. Honorable Speaker, the County Assembly Service Board, which is CASIB, as per Section 12, subsection 7D of the County Governments Act 2012, is responsible for preparing annual estimates of expenditure of the County Assembly service and submitting them to the County Assembly for approval and exercising budgetary control over the service. Honorable Speaker, the County Assembly had budgeted to spend 977,410,087 shillings 70 cents in the financial year 2019-2020, and received a total of Kenya shillings 981,980,087 shillings and 70 cents. The receipts comprised of Kenya shillings 977,410,087 shillings 70 cents from the Exchequer and Kenya shillings 4,500,000 from KCB Housing Fund of the Assembly, which was in the account borrowing, which was a form of advance. This amount, Mr. Speaker, was advanced to cushion a shortfall in the recurrent expenditure and was used to pay June 2020 salaries. The borrowing was approved by the County Assembly Service Board and was done to ensure that the well-being of members and staff was taken care of as provided for in Section 11, subsection 1E of the County Assembly Services Act, and that members do not suffer pecuniary embarrassment for lack of salaries. Honorable Speaker, the receipt of Kenya shillings 981,910,087 shillings 70 cents were meant for the recurrent expenditure of Kenya shillings 845,645,156 shillings 70 cents and development expenditure of Kenya shillings 136,264,931 shillings. The Assembly was able to absorb all the funds for recurrent expenditure, leaving a balance of Kenya shillings 162.35 cents out of the Kenya shillings 845,645,156 shillings and 70 cents. However, the Assembly spent Kenya shillings 48,206,001 shilling 80 cents out of the Kenya shillings 136,264,931 shillings meant for development, representing about 35% of the total development vote. The low absorption of the development funds was attributed to lengthy arbitration process with PPRA for the chamber, legal suit for the gym, and delay in commissioning the lift, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, by close of the financial year, the Assembly had pending bills of Kenya shillings 125,929,924 shillings 84 cents. This amount comprised of general supplies, Kenya shillings 41,975,361 shillings 55 cents. Legal services providers, Kenya shillings 39,652,674 shillings. Staff allowances, Kenya shillings 15,478,858 shillings. Statutory dates, Mr. Speaker, Kenya shillings 8,713,544 shillings. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, was general contractors, Kenya shillings 20,109,486 shillings 69 cents. Mr. Speaker, the pending bills were partly as a result of CRA ceiling, which was static, while salaries and other allowances kept on having annual increment. In addition, Mr. Speaker, some of the pending bills like June reductions and the medical cover were as a result of delay in release of June 2020 disbursements, and they have already been paid. Further, Mr. Speaker, some pending bills relate to legal fees dating to 2016, which had not been authenticated, while some other pending bills relate to development projects which are not paid for as work had not been completed, and they have been re-budgeted for. In addition, Mr. Speaker, arrears for staff allowances have been as a result of the less allocation of staff budget, which is estimated at Kenya shillings 100 million. but has always been budgeted at Kenya shillings 60 million. Honorable Speaker, the committee observed the following. A, the Assembly received all the funds budgeted in the financial year 2019-2020. In addition, the Assembly received Kenya shillings 4,500,000 from Kenya Commercial Bank Housing Fund, which was a form of advance to pay June 2020 salaries. This amount of Kenya shillings 4,500,000 from KCB Housing Fund was approved by the County Assembly Service Board. B, Mr. Speaker, the Assembly exceeded the recurrent budgetary expenditure by Kenya shillings 4,499,837 shillings 65 cents above the CRIS ceiling of Kenya shillings 841,145,156 shillings 70 cents. C, Mr. Speaker, the Assembly had pending bills of Kenya shillings 125,929,924 shillings 84 cents, which has not been factored in the financial year 2020-2021 wholly, as directed by the Cabinet Secretary, National Treasury. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, on observations is D. The financial statement report provided by the Assembly differed from the report of the Controller of Budget on County Government Budget Implementation Review Report for the financial year 2019-2020, which was attributed to inaccuracy of the COB. Committee recommendations, Mr. Speaker. 1, that the County Assembly Service Board ensures that inter-account borrowing of Kenya shillings 4,500,000 was repaid. 2, that the County Assembly Service Board ensures all pending bills, especially those for staff allowances amounting to Kenya shillings 15,478,858 shillings were paid for by factoring them in a supplementary budget. 3, Mr. Speaker, that the County Assembly Service Board ensures prudence and discipline in expenditure as per the budget going forward, including putting in place proper controls to ensure that the Assembly does not overshoot its budget. 4, Mr. Speaker, that the County Assembly Service Board and the Budget and Appropriation Committee should ensure that budgeted staff allowances were adequate to ensure that they support all the programs of honorable members and the Assembly. Honorable Speaker, I therefore table this report of the Finance and Revenue Collection Committee on the financial statements of the County Assembly for financial year 2019-2020 for consideration and adoption. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Cosmas Assisi. I now propose the question that this Honorable House discusses and approves the report of the Finance and Revenue Collection Committee on the financial statements of the County Assembly of Machakos for the financial year ended 30th June 2020, that is the financial year 2019-2020, as tabled by the Finance and Revenue Collection Committee. Honorable members, you may contribute to the motion. Honorable Honorable Kisila.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Mine is just to, since the chairman budget is here with us, is just a point on this recommendation 2 on ensuring that we don't have pending bills on staff allowances. It came out as a very strong point. And how can we, the point is, how can we ensure this is not repeated and that we don't carry over pending bills on the people who do such a good job for us in this assembly? It's just like a kind of a query on the, if it has been taken care of, well and good. But since the chairman is here, he can just shed some light.
Thank you, Honorable Cosma, Honorable Kisila. Honorable Dominic, Could you respond to that, please?
Thank
Share
you,
budget.
Honorable Speaker. My name is Honorable Dominic Ndambuki, Member of County Assembly representing Kathiani Central Ward, and also the Chair, Budget and Appropriations Committee of this House. Honorable Speaker, I agree with the recommendations given by the Committee on Finance, and I will start with point number 5, Honorable Speaker, where the committee recommends a review of our budgetary ceilings on recurrent budgets, Honorable Speaker. The numbers that we have for staff are growing due to the needs that we have at the Assembly, Honorable Speaker, and there's a need for SRC, and CRA to review our budgetary ceilings, Honorable Speaker. However, as committee, we have over time budgeted for staff allowances, and the buck now stops with the CEO of the House, who is the accounting officer, the clerk, to ensure that whatever has been budgeted for, whatever is forwarded to the budget committee is adequate to run the assembly for the entire year, financial year, and when need arises and we have supplementary budgets, we can always accommodate for any requests to adjust the allowances. And then the accounting officer should ensure that whatever has been budgeted for is implemented. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Moffat Maida.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. My name is Moffat Maida, representing the people of Matungulu West Ward. Honorable Speaker, I also want to talk about staff allowances. It is very unfortunate that when the honorable members are getting their allowances, our staff members are not getting theirs. And as a member also of the budget committee, I would wish to request that when we meet for the supplementary budget, we take into account the problems the staff are facing, and we see a way out, how we can go about the mathematics of the supplementary budget and make sure that these allowances are paid. Again, I don't know how and why the Assembly overspent by 4 million, about 4.5 million. If it was overspending, I would have wished that that money would have been paid to the staff members so that their balances could be decreased, Honorable Speaker. Therefore, let us take these staff members as our brothers and sisters. When we are enjoying, they should also enjoy. Because when you call for a committee meeting and your committee clerk has not been paid and she knows you have been paid, in fact, the atmosphere is not good enough. Therefore, let us make sure that all these things are done to bring cohesion to our assembly. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I support.
Honorable Alex Kamitu.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I'm Alex Kamitu, MC Talal Ward and leader of minority in this House. Honorable Speaker, this is a very comprehensive report in an executive summary. And in the recommendation, we have seen areas that, as an assembly, areas that should be improved. Honorable Speaker, you have heard comments by the honorable members who have spoken. And Honorable Speaker, I normally say that we should also share some good ideas, as I was a long-serving civil servant in the government. And I was also a member of this assembly in 2013, up to date. And Honorable Speaker, my observation is that as we talk about the welfare of the staff,
it is also important for this Honorable House to sit down and see exactly what will happen in regard to the staff progression salary. A good example, Honorable Speaker, is that I think it will be the work of the Service Board and also the members of the Appropriation Committee to ensure that progression of members of this assembly progresses as per the seniority. Because it is very disheartening, Honorable Speaker, for example, if there is a staff who has been employed since 2013 and he stayed stagnant in a certain grade, and during the interviews, another staff is, recruited into 2018 or 2020, and within a progression of 1 year, they're on the same salary scale. Honorable Speaker, in any institution, it is either when a staff has, stagnated or is in one place, it is important to have a progression. And even after the progression of the salary, there should be, a promotion on the next grade, which, of course, Honorable Speaker, for us to be, to be administrative on that side, it is important when the House sits to ensure that with our counting officer and the leadership of the Service Board, they should go to the CRA, and when we demand what is supposed to be, increment of our annual budget allocation, it is important to point on those issues because it is important when a staff of this Honorable House, because it is a growing institution, stays for over 20 years in one, there is no progression of salary, there is no progression in the same grade. So those are the areas that as honorable members and with the Service Board we should consider. Otherwise, other comments that has been made by the honorable members, they are very valid, and we should these are the areas we should also look at about it. And again, Honorable Speaker, I should also bring to the notice that it is also important that the pending bills, as what Honorable Brian has said, we should not be having pending bills. And for a good example, you understand that we have got our chamber, which is going on, and there was this legal tussle. So those are the areas also where our accounting officer and the committee for budget, these are the areas they should also be looking, so that any budgetary allocation that has been given to finish a certain project within the premises of this assembly, it should be well budgeted and finished as early as possible. Otherwise, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Kingori.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I stand to support the report with a few observations, Mr. Speaker. I do understand in the year 2019-2020, the COVID issue arised, and we not finished our budget. Some of us even didn't fly out of the country, and I can see all the money had been spent. And I wonder how can you spend money, then you have also a deficit, yet the money was not utilized by the honorable members and the staff. It beats logic to say that we did not have any saving in that year when we did not spend money on travelers and other expenditure due to COVID-19. We did not even attend the assembly, so there was nothing that they had been spending. I wonder how comes that they managed to spend all the money, even if it was not spent by honorable members, Mr. Speaker. I want to say that the report is good on paper, but we need to be practical sometimes. Because one recommendation should be they should explain to us how they spent money, even if honorable members and staff were not on duty, so that we can know the magic it was used to get that money to be used, Honorable Speaker. Secondly, I want to say that it is important for us also to understand the importance of the clerks. And as you understand now, Honorable Chair, we had been recommending that we go to with all the staffs as they are, including the security plus the clerks. But things don't happen that way sometimes. And yet, the budget had been spent, and we are told that the staff was not paid. How on earth, and we have the budget which had all those things in place, Honorable Speaker? It is sad to note that if we can have such this report in the assembly, and we don't pinpoint on the weakness on our side, the public there will doubt us because we shall be deemed corrupt and don't oversight the executive of the assembly, which is now headed by the clerk. And also, we cannot even say that we shall have been doing our duties properly if we cannot give account of our money, Mr. Speaker. Now, it is now high time we call a spade a spade. Moto bebe msigo yake, Honorable Speaker. Let's not try to fight for wrongdoings in other societies. That is killing our country, Mr. Speaker. I do understand that moral things cannot be learned in any university or any college, but we have obligation to be morally right. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. May the mover of the motion respond, please?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to appreciate the members for their contribution towards the report. But just briefly, Mr. Speaker, I would like to mention that there seems to be still some amount which will not be captured, because if you look at the funds which were meant for development, they were 136 million, but what was spent was 48 million. Mr. Speaker, if you deduct 48 from 136, you'll get a balance of around 80 million. And as members can see, the arrears, all the pending bills were 125. So there's a difference of around 37 million, which, Mr. Speaker, still, we don't know how it will be captured, or we will have to get those funds. And again, Mr. Speaker, if at all you had the pending bills, 125 million, and they were not captured in the main budget, Mr. Speaker, again, it's the challenge to capture these within the supplementary budget, which clearly shows that they'll have to run to the next financial year. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, I want to believe the County Assembly Service Board needs to be alert and make sure that they finance both members and staff when they are doing this workshop in terms of our duties, Mr. Speaker. Because, Mr. Speaker, if you don't empower either the staff and the honorable member while they are going out on a workshop, seriously, Mr. Speaker, it's a big question on how the work will be carried comprehensively and have a report to this honorable House. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the Office of the Speaker and the Clerk for enabling the committee to undertake such an activity and report to this House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Cosmas Masese. I now put the question that this Honorable House discusses and approves the report of the Finance and Revenue Collection Committee on the financial statements of the County Assembly of Machakos for the financial year ended 30th of June, that is the financial year 2019-2020, as tabled by the Finance and Revenue Collection Committee. As many as other opinions say ayes, as many as the contrary opinions say nay, the ayes have it. Honorable members, I just want to make one slight, and the honorable member, I think he has left, comment, and also the chair budget. On the comments which the chair budget made and what also the honorable member was alluding to, in the current financial year, after the deliberations on the shortfalls which were there, SRC increased the assembly ceiling from 845 to 907. So in the current year, the ceiling has already increased from 845 to 907. And therefore, as a result of that, during the budgeting process, if I can remember very well, we factored in all the pending bills for employees. We have factored in the current year. And we also factored in or a few, not everything, but a substantial amount of the 125 million was also captured in the current financial year. I can remember clearly the legal fee, part of the legal fee, and part of the other items which are pending, we have been provided for in the current budget. So that should be able to reduce on the issues which have been raised by the committee. The issue on capital expenditure, yes, very low absorption. Only 48 million absorbed out of 136 million. And that is quite a huge amount. Yes, it has been explained by legal court and all these other issues, courts which arose. But there is need for once funds are allocated, because once you allocated funds, it means another entity was denied the funds. So if you allocated funds and you don't use them, the impact is normally double. Is that you did not use them, and another entity which would have used them also did not use them. So you have an opportunity cost there. The 88 million, Chair, I think you need to understand that capital expenditure is normally not an assembly amount. It is allocated from the executive. And we are allowed by the executive to utilize capital expenditure up to the amount they have approved. So when it is not absorbed here, we don't have the funds sitting with us here. The funds are absorbed on the other side. That is where the 88 million you are asking for goes into. The issue of COVID raised by Honorable Kingori, you remember it was in March when COVID came in. So the only quarter which was affected was Q4. And remember, if you can remember very well, we adjusted our sittings to online committee sittings, and members started going for the entire full 8 committee sittings. So part of the funds was utilized because it was only the third quarter, and most of the time, as you all know, by the last quarter, we are almost through with our allocations, and actually just banging on supplementaries for us to be able to get through. So that is well explained. Important point is on the scheme of service, which has been raised by Honorable Kamito. Scheme of service. It's important for any organization to have an appraisal system in place, which ensures fairness in promotion, which ensures that members of staff who are employed by that entity go through normal resource optimization and ensure that every year they are done appraisals on a predetermined schedule, and they have a scheme of service which they need to follow. So it's our recommendation that the County Assembly Service Board and the management of the Assembly ensures that we have a formal scheme of service, formal appraisal system in place, whereby somebody knows. For example, in most private sectors, you will find there are 2 types of, there's a normal appraisal, where you get promotion based on, and that has to be done every year. And there are predetermined key performance indicators which are stipulated. If you perform, your performance is up to this grade. If you achieve 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then you get an A. If you get an A, you are due for promotion. So those are the kind of things which need to be put in place to ensure that you don't get people who do not deserve to be promoted getting promoted, and those others who have been in the entity for a long time and working hard and deserve to be promoted not being able to be promoted. So it's an important point, and I believe County Assembly Service Board needs to look at that. With that, honorable members, the House adjourns to resume on Tuesday, the 12th day of October, 2021 at 2:30 p.m. Enjoy your lunch.